One. Hey, hi hackers. How is everyone? I want to welcome you all to the pitch training that we're putting together for you guys. So I think you know me by now. My name is Lauren Zielinski. I'm part of the WaPOR Hackathon hack team, and we've been working together for a few days now. I hope you guys are enjoying yourselves and finding the challenge fun and exciting. So I think you all have been working on your murals, and you have been brainstorming ideas and looking at the different challenges that you can tackle as part of this hackathon. But at the end, we need you to create a 1-minute pitch. Now, I think most of us are kind of technical people. We have MSCs or PhDs, and we work in water productivity and water accounting and different fields like this. So we're maybe not used to presenting our ideas to the general public, especially in a short 1-minute session. So we've brought my colleague today, Nick Canafax, who is kind of an expert in this, and he's going to share some of his tips with us. So I would like to say we are on YouTube, so the best way to communicate with us is through the chat. And first, if you can, I would like you to introduce yourselves, maybe which team that you're on. It'd be nice to see who's here with us live. But it's also great to post your questions. So Nick is really experienced in this, and he has been used to presenting in front of hundreds of people. So he'd be really excited to engage with you through the chat. So if you put your questions there, I will ask them to him at the end of his presentation. So a quick introduction on Nick. Nick Canafax, he comes from an entrepreneur background and has helped his own companies raise a few million US dollars over the course of his career. He has 10 years of experience in the San Francisco, Los Angeles, and New York City startup ecosystem, and has formed partnerships that allowed him to become a frontier tech investment consultant. So he is the former program director for the River Frontier Technology Accelerator program, where he has helped dozens of entrepreneurs build out their businesses and narrative skills to ultimately achieve over 100 million US dollars in follow-on financing. So Nick, we're very happy to have you here sharing your knowledge with us.
Very nice to be here. I'm excited to hear everyone's ideas, and excited to dig into what you guys are thinking when it comes to applying and getting this technology out there. So I'll just get started. Oh wait, we want to do everyone introducing themselves, right? What team they're on?
Yeah, they'll do that in the chat. So I'll just take a look and see who's here and how engaged they are.
Okay, I'll share my screen now. Okay, can everyone see the?
Yep, looks good.
Okay, great. Okay, well, good morning for me. Good evening for all of you. My name is Nick Canafax, and I'm the former managing director for Silicon Valley-based Technology Accelerator. For my clients, I hear about 1,200 ideas, pitches per year, and I'm here to make sure that you don't suck at your pitches. So in this presentation, I'm going to give you a messaging outline to help you communicate your idea into an impactful, emotional message. So number one, know your audience. When you pitch on the 23rd, when you submit your video, who are you pitching to? Is it an investor? Is it a scientist? Is it a politician? Potential customer? Your best friend, your dog? What a customer cares about is different than what everyone else cares about. So they care about saving money, making money, security, health, saving time. An employee cares about job security, pension, snacks. An investor cares about making money, or put a little bit more elegantly, comfortable with the idea of making a bet on you to make some money. Your dog just wants you to be happy. So it's important to try and get into the mind of the audience and understand what they care about so you can tailor your message. Once you have that down, and you can tweak every word in your pitch to suit the audience, what the audience cares about, you win. Let me repeat that. Once you know exactly what your audience wants and you tailor your message for that audience, you win. What is your goal? Is it a full prototype of this hackathon? Is it 1 million users, 1,000 euros? None of that. Your goal and your only goal is to get to the next level of this hackathon on the 23rd. That's it, is to nail that 1 minute pitch. Everything else comes afterwards, and you can focus on that after the 23rd. So how do you do that? You need to stand head and shoulders above the rest of your competition. The judges you're going to be pitching to have heard lots of ideas like yours, lots of applications like yours. But what they haven't heard is the way that you and your team are going to tackle the opportunity that only you see. So, first and foremost, have fun, be exciting, inspire them. Each of you has exactly what it takes to be a finalist if you stay focused on this goal. So, we're going to break down your 1 minute pitch by the numbers. So you heard my pitch, my intro. Hi, my name is Nicholas Canafax. I'm a former managing director in Silicon Valley-based technology Accelerator. Took me about 4 seconds. So just introduce yourselves. Lauren put together another slide deck to say what not to mention or what not to put in your deck or put in your pitch. So definitely read up on that. So be yourself, be confident, and believe in what you're doing. It'll definitely come off. You want to hook the person in the first 5 seconds. So a good way to be interesting in the first 5 seconds is you can start with a fact, you can start with an interesting personal story, contradict some traditional wisdom, humor. I'm not personally funny. Play on a known fear, or be appropriately different. So choose your own flavor. These are just suggestions. So, excuse me, one of the best introductions I've heard was an individual in the aerospace industry. He came into my office, and the first thing he said was, "Hello, my name is Daniel. I've been in the aerospace industry for 25 years. I have a business model on how to make the NFL in space, and I need $50 million to start." Of course, I was on the edge of my seat with whatever he was going to say next. He was serious, and I know he was serious because he pivoted into selling refueling tank price futures, basically selling a future price on a fuel tank in space to refuel satellites for potential asteroid mining companies. And he was successful in doing that. So don't be afraid to say something confidently audacious because, you know, just because someone sitting next to you doesn't think you can back it up doesn't mean you can't back it up. The next 40 seconds are going to be extremely pivotal. So you want to express industry realities. So here's where we are today in the industry that you're targeting. And here is the users and customers we're going to be targeting. So industry insights are about truths about the industry, what's normal, what's not normal. What would people say about this industry, about your application that is impossible? How can you make that possible in an incremental way? Is the time now for the impossible to be possible, and why? So you want to discuss a trend that you see that you can see an opportunity with inside. Other is users. So who will use this and why? If you're good at your job and you're good at explaining this part of it, no one will ask you how big the potential market or how many users there are. So if I say something like, I want to build an application, a gaming application on smartphones, there's no question as to how many people that could potentially reach. But I didn't say it's, 2 billion people or whatever, 700,000 just in the US, whatever the number is. I didn't have to say it because you already know exactly how large it is just by me saying how the application is made and used and who will it be going towards. So what you really want to hammer into is everyone with problem X will want to be using this. And the problem X or everyone is going to need to be a very large, in the people that are listening to it, a very large number in their minds. This is also the section where you mention using WaPOR data integration. So ways to make language on big vision and big scale is it reusable? So can I take this data and push it into other markets. Mobile is really big on, is it going to be high computing costs or larger barriers to entry when it comes to technology? Is your solution, does it need inventory? For example, something like Uber, they don't own the cars, but they're used in their business model, but they don't store them, so that keeps their costs down. Can you integrate AI and machine learning? Is it a subscription service? Because that scales very well with marketing and sales. And can this be integrated into existing solutions? And the reason why that one is really important is because it means that there are established sales and communication channels that you yourself don't have to build. So you can get to market or get to scale very, very fast. The last section is 15 seconds, and it's functional benefits and why now. So functional benefits are the tangible value of your product and service. Does it save time, money, or resources? Give me something extremely tangible, extremely functional. The why now. I tell a lot of my entrepreneurs that ideas are free. It's all about execution, and it's all about timing. There's a ton of companies out in the world that were too early. You don't hear about the companies that were too late because, well, they just don't exist, because why would you want to compete unless you had something really, really different? But why now? What makes this solution, what makes your idea, the timing for it, for the window that we're discussing it right now, why is it perfect? If you can nail that, you can create FOMO, or fear of missing out. You can create excitement, and you can create traction, because now is the time, and everyone that you speak to moving on from this will understand that and want to get on board. Tips on believable traction, execution, and why now is basically traction and team. That's it. I cannot iterate this enough. If you can show the smallest bit of traction, that is a huge win. I understand that you only have a few weeks, but the difference between an idea and a prototype is an absolute ocean. Keep it simple, keep it small, get one thing to work, one visual thing to work as well. Remember, you want to hammer home one main feature or application. The goal is to drive into the mind of the judges. I cannot reiterate this enough, that if they think to themselves, wow, if they can achieve all of this in just a few weeks, imagine what they can do with more time and some cash. If you get that into the mind of the investor or the follower or the employee or anyone, you win. At this stage, just about any metric will do, as long as you think it's an important one. So I would need to dig in more about the applications the teams are building, but we can discuss the difference between vanity metrics and execution metrics a little further, but you need to be tracking something that's growing, is basically it. So since you have the luxury of not having to do this live, this means that you can insert graphics and media into your pitches that have the power to communicate an effective message. Don't be like this. My brain turns off, a lot of people's brains turn off when I see something too technical in a pitch or a on-stage presentation. You can do this in a partner meeting. You can do this whenever you do deep dive into diligence. You can do this on your murals, right? For whenever I have questions on when I want to dive into your technology. Don't do this in your 1-minute pitches. You need to keep it very simple. We don't know what the X and Y axes are. It doesn't matter. I'm just showing you that the music industry is up, the CD sales are down. Why is that? It's very, very simple media, and it conveys a point. Think of it like a prop more than like an educational piece. The last piece I like to go over is something called generic speak. So our sales intelligence tools helps customers close more deals. Our product stands out through its sophisticated logic engine, deceptively simple mobile user interface, and infrastructure-grade platform. That means nothing. What does your company do? No one knows what they're doing right now. Is it an app? Is it a firm? Is it a phone book? So we need to get out of this generic language, because the way you get out of generic language is telling me what you do. Don't, I'm sorry, is not telling me what you do, is telling me how you do it. So the way to restructure this would be our sales intelligence app helps customers move or close more deals by allowing their clients to compare warehouse inventory prices faster before checkout. So now I know how you do it, not just what you do. So if you can integrate how you do it into your pitch, it will go so much farther and people will remember what you do a lot longer. So in closing, you are not trying to make the audience understand every facet of your idea. You want them to have 2 or 3 takeaways and really remember you for something powerful. Dozens of books will tell you this. If you've buried them with hundreds of little factoids, it will make it harder to remember the 2 or 3 things you want them to remember. Remember, and keep in mind that the judges are going to hear 23 of these pitches in that day. So it's going to be a challenge for them to keep engaged, and the easier you make it on them, the more they will remember you. So presenting is like building a product. It needs to be broken down and iterated a lot. Practice will make you sound comfortable and confident. There is a balance between being comfortable, confident, and sounding rehearsed. You need to try and relax and not sound rehearsed. The more you practice, the better your pitch will be. It's as simple as that. Practice in front of your peers and advisors, but also practice in front of people who don't know who or what your business does. The audience at demo day will be strangers, some of them learning about your business from scratch. Please make sure you practice in front of a similar audience. And I can take questions now.
Great. Thanks, Nick. I appreciate that. I really like your last comment about sharing your idea and your pitch with people who don't work with you. I like to use my mom as my test subject, but she is not.
You can explain it to them. You've got something special.
She's not a scientist. She's not an engineer. So if I can explain something to her, I know I can explain it to anyone.
That's right.
I'm sure all of us have a person, a friend, a sibling, a mentor, somebody that you can talk to and do your short elevator pitch for. And they also always ask nice questions that you thought were obvious, and then you realize, oh, I never told you I was making an app. I just told you I use WaPOR data. Oh, okay, let's start from the beginning. So they're a nice a test to make sure that we're really getting across the points that we want. So I think what many people have questions on is kind of what do we need to include for this pitch, specifically for the WaPOR Hackathon pitch. So I just put together a short presentation kind of describing what to include and what not to include. So I'll just bring that up quickly. And then this is where, if you have questions, again, put them in the chat and we can answer them afterwards. So here you go. What should I include in my pitch? So this is what to include. And it also goes along with the judging criteria and the different weights of each thing. So kind of one of the most important things, even though it seems quite simple, is be sure to define your users. So sometimes this is one of those very obvious things that we forget. You know, who would be using this app? Is it the farmer that is in the field? Is it the Ministry of Water and Irrigation? Is it the scientists in the local university? So who are we building this app for? And then how are these users engaging or using this app? Would they be using it on a computer? Would they be using it on a mobile phone? Would they be using it for research maybe, or even would they be using it for how to know when to plant their crops? You know, so what's the physical way they engage with it, or maybe the technical or mental way they engage with it? And also be sure to state if there's any special training that's needed. Building maybe a Google Earth Engine app that's quite advanced for the Ministry of Water. You know, somebody might need to have some technical background to know what to do with that. Also importantly is if you're building an app for a farmer who works in the fields, maybe they're not used to working a cell phone. Maybe this is something that you're assuming if you bring them a cell phone that they'll use it, and maybe they won't. So try and think about those different assumptions and the technical skills that your users would need. Something else that's really important. So those three things together count for 10% of the judging criteria. The next set of items is that we want to know what the challenge is that you're trying to solve. As part of the mural, you had to brainstorm different challenges and decide upon a final challenge that you wanted to tackle. So please let us know, even very simply in your pitch, what is that challenge? And then we would also like to know what is the impact of your app on the users that you want to use. What's the impact on the Ministry of Water and Irrigation or the farmer? But also, what is the impact of your app on solving this challenge that you've set for yourself? How is it going to help water management, or how is it going to help planting crop seasons? So that's worth 15%, those things together. The next one, and these next two are the most important. So we want to know how you're using the WaPOR data, and we want to make sure that it's quite clear. If you're also using WaPOR with other open access data sets, how are those combined together? And then at what spatial scale? As a lot of this is remote sensing based data, we need to know the different scales that you're planning to use, both for your app and for the data that you're using as input data, and make sure that those are compatible. So using 5-kilometer resolution spatial data will not work very well if you're trying to make an app for a farmer who needs to know when to plant crops in his small field. So that is 25%. And then the next 25% is how unique or how innovative are you being with your idea? Is this something that already exists that you're just trying to make better? Or is it a totally new idea and you're filling this gap, this need that exists somewhere in the world? Again, that's another 25%. So those two will really be the focus of your pitch. I think somewhere in that 40-second section that Nick had mentioned. And what else will you be judged on? So those are the things that need to be put inside of your pitch. Those are the requirements, but there are a few other things that you'll be judged on as well that you don't need to specifically discuss. First is the judges will take a look and they will decide how feasible is your idea, is your concept. How can we turn that into a prototype? Is it too complicated, or are there really large barriers to making it into a working prototype? Or do we think that this concept is really clear and it's well researched and well thought out, that it could really be a very viable option to turn it into a working prototype? And then, so that's 10%. And then there's the overall pitch quality. So taking these ideas and these concepts that Nick just talked about, being clear, knowing your audience, speaking to your audience, and having a nice story from beginning to end. That's a nice pitch quality. So that will be 5%. And you want to make sure that you are talking to a general audience. So remember that family member or that friend who is not technical. Will they be able to understand what you're doing and how it could impact your challenge? We want to make sure that we really focus on them and focus on your concept. So the jury members will focus on those two things, but then your coaches, we also have some input. So we will be looking at the completeness of your mural. I know many people have been working on them as a team, and we're very excited that you're using them, and we hope they're a nice tool to help you along the creative process. But they are also a requirement. So we're looking at how well you fill out those murals and how complete they are. And then finally, the coaches will be assessing how well you communicate as a team and how engaged you are with the coaches and maybe some of the experts and things. So both of those will be worth 5% each. I think this is important to know. What should I not include in my pitch? So what's important to know is that you want to focus on those things I just talked about, but I know that there's many other things. Some of these teams are quite large. We were working with a team the other day and they joked that there's 8 people. It's going to take us 1 minute just to say our names. But we already know your names. We know where you come from. We know a little bit about you from the quiz. So for the judging purposes, you do not need to include that information in your pitch. Also, things like the team number. Again, we know this from your mural. We have the information on you. The theme you've selected, it should be quite obvious based on the pitch that you give, but again, this is also in your mural, so you don't need to spend time in your pitch to talk about it. And finally, the next steps for your app. This is something that we think is important, but with a 1-minute pitch, it would be really difficult to fit everything in. So we decided we're going to take a look at those documentation section of your mural where you put in what would you like to do in the next 2 weeks if you win. That's what the judges will see. And like Nick said, we don't want to see too many details. We know that you all have MSCs in remote sensing and coding and all these really nice things, but if you get too technical, you're going to lose your audience. And your audience can be people from users, so that's farmers, members of the ministry. It could be funders. Maybe you think this is a great idea and you want to take it to someone so that you can get some small startup funds to really make it a working thing. It could be your mom, it could be anybody. So again, taking Nick's advice, don't be too technical, just keep it at a very conceptual level, and talk about, how the app works, how the data, what data you're using, and what is the output and the use for the user.
If I could add
Yes, please.
When we get into the technical versions of these pitches, they still are at maybe like out of 1 out of 10, it's maybe like at a 3 technical level. But whenever I want to dive into it and do a technical diligence, I have them meet with one of my technical diligence partners or associates. So someone that works around the firm, that might not be an employee. I have them set up a real deep dive meeting with one of those individuals, and they love just getting as technical as you can possibly get. And that's how we kick the tires on if this is technically feasible, not just can this go to market.
So you go to somebody who is an expert in their field, and they really dig into all the details, and then they can tell you as the investor.
I have the entrepreneur meet with one of my associates that is around the firm, not an employee, and then they meet, and then I get the information from my colleague that if this is legit or not.
Yeah.
There is a real time for a nice technical meeting. It comes about a month and a half afterwards.
Yeah, and especially, in this, we have a 1 week kind of intense session. So we're really focusing on the concepts. Yep. And then the next step for the winners, we'll do more of a deep dive into those kinds of things. A lot of our technical experts, even our jury members, they're part of the FAO, and they're part of the technical team that's making the WaPOR data. So they really have a nice insight as to the different ways it could be applied. You guys are the creativity, and then our technical team knows all the nuts and bolts about it, let's say. And also, sort of building on what Nick said, this is just the pitch, but if you guys win in the next 2 weeks, you'll also have to start thinking about a business plan, and how do you turn this just from a concept with a nice 1-minute video into a working prototype, and even the next steps. So I think that's something else to keep in mind, and it's it's quite exciting, I think. Yeah, just the last point of something you should not include in your pitch is the phrase a WaPOR hackathon. To be honest, this is not a homework assignment. This is a nice challenge that we're putting together, that we're doing together. But at the end, we would like you to have this 1-minute pitch for yourself and your group and your idea. So when you go away, and you really like your idea and you want to continue, you can use this video somewhere else. So yeah, there's no need to put in the WaPOR hackathon. We want it to just be a general video and focus on your great idea and your great concept. A few questions I've had from some teams is, my gosh, how do I make a video? I've never done this before. It's okay. It's part of the learning process. I think it's also a nice skill to have in the future. It will take a little bit of time, but there are a lot of nice free tools that you can use that will make it easier. So something that is really cool, they have this nice video creation software called Render Forest, and they have a lot of templates that you can start with, that you can add text, or you can add some photos or something like that. And that could be a nice place to start. I've made videos using Prezi before. If you're familiar with Prezi, it's a much cooler version of PowerPoint, let's say. So it's very dynamic, and you can move around a screen, and it makes it much more interesting for the viewer. You can also do small animations. So these are just two examples, Movely and Powtoon, but you can also make short animations where you kind of put in the content and you drag and drop the different characters and you put in the text that you want. But it comes across as a nice polished animation. And then finally, something that will be really helpful are screen capture and video editing software. So if you would like to put something on your computer screen, you can just record your computer screen using programs like Active Presenter or Camtasia, and you can also use it to kind of edit the different scenes in your pitch. If you are an advanced user and you really want to get technical, you can use a program called Hit Film Express. They use the professional version in many movies and TV shows. So it's quite advanced, but if you feel very comfortable and it's something you want to dive into and make some cool special effects, that's something that you could use. So those are just some ideas. Again, they're all free, or they have a free version that you can use to make your 1 minute pitch video. And be sure to set aside some time. It does take a number of hours, let's say, to make a good 1 minute pitch video. Some other tips would be to start with a script. You can draw out maybe scene by scene what you would like to say and what you would like to show on your screen. And that's a really good place to start rather than jumping into some of these programs right away. But that's it for me. So we'll get back to Nick. And I'll just take a quick look at the chat. So if you have any questions, please post them in the chat. I think many teams are currently still on the phase of finalizing their idea and refining their idea, so maybe haven't thought so much about the pitch stage yet, but I know that we'll get there. And come Sunday or Monday, I think people will really want to rewatch this video and see what Nick has to say.
And I will add all my presentation materials that I give to my Accelerator companies into, well, a revised version of them into my my thread,
Your Q&A forum.
Yeah, my Q&A forum. So we can talk about it there in a more of a long form situation. And yeah, if and of course, if you have any questions, feel free to just go on over there and ask away.
Yeah, so we want to encourage all the participants to really utilize these Q&A forums. We have Nick here who does a lot with the pitch training and turning ideas and concepts into businesses. But we also have other experts in remote sensing and QGIS plugins and building apps and the WaPOR database, SDGs and kind of environmental monitoring. So please utilize them. They're really excited to be here and happy to answer your questions. So yeah, I don't see any more questions from the chat. So if this would be your last minute to do it. But Nick, do you have any parting words for the participants as they start their journey into developing maybe their first pitch?
I mean, have fun. Like this is the easiest time you will ever have in building a company. It's this super viscous, ideas are flowing everywhere, we don't know where we're going, but it's super exciting, and you come across those aha moments, and like it's just this really nice a couple people in a garage story that you get to tell if this goes anywhere. And it's the most wholesome part of a business. This is why I like working with entrepreneurs like this, is because we're just trying to make products in the world that we want to see and that really make a big impact before it gets kind of complicated with capitalism and all the other things out there. But this is just take this time, have a lot of fun. No idea is a bad idea. Just throw it around, see what sticks, and then just ask smart questions about it.
Yeah. So I think that brings us to the end. Thank you for your advice and thank you for your presentation. For those of us who want to find out more what to do with our ideas after the hackathon, Nick will also be giving a short presentation on how to turn your concept into a business idea. And there's many different ways that you can do that. So you will see him again next Tuesday when he talks more about that. So I would like to thank everyone who attended today. I would like to thank Nick especially. He's in California, so it's actually the morning for him. It kind of showcases, I think, what a lot of our participants are going through, because we're really from all over the world and in different time zones. So yeah, thank you everyone, and good luck continuing in the hackathon, and we'll see you soon.
Great. Cheers.